Hi everyone, welcome back. I am excited to talk about today's episode, but I actually have a question before we dive into it because I'm torn between sharing more about my day in the life, what I'm up to, the foods I eat, just a little bit about me, I guess, and also just not talking about that at all and just going into the content and the education that I provide on this podcast and on my channel. I don't know if any of you follow Shannon McKinstry. I think that's how you say her name, but she's basically a social media content creator, and she always talks about, and she has hundreds of thousands of followers. She provides a lot of value and education around social media, how to be on Instagram, how to create reels, etc. But one thing that really stuck out to me is that she actually suggesting to actually talk more about our life behind the scenes, what we're doing and the things that we enjoy. And I don't know, I just find myself I've had times where I share a lot about my life, and then I've had some nasty comments about how people don't want to hear anything about that. But then I also get comments from you guys saying, share more about your life. It's hilarious. Add that more into your podcast. So anyways, what I'm trying to say here is I'm torn between sharing about me, but then also not. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you want more stories behind the scenes, or should we just stick to educational content? Purely educational. No intros, no nothing, just straight into it. Okay, so today's episode are the patterns that I see in every eczema client. While everyone has their own unique root cause combo, their own triggers for eczema, you're using your own skincare, you have a different diet, you should be having your own personalized plan in treating your eczema, but there are similarities that I see from seeing thousands of clients over the past 6 years. And I want to share that with you guys so you can see these patterns might be something you want to personally look into in your case. Grab your cup of coffee, grab a notebook, and we're going to dive into it. The very first pattern that I see with people with eczema is that they're not eating enough. Yes, I've talked about this a lot on the channel. If you've been following for a while, you know this is a huge thing. And I think it comes with the reality that a lot of people are avoiding foods to heal their eczema. They're on different elimination diets. They're avoiding gluten, dairy, sugar, nightshades, vegetables. They're skipping meals. They're just very fearful of food. So when we're looking at breakfast, lunch, and dinner for our patients with eczema, I often see that they're just not getting enough calories, they're not getting enough protein, they're not getting enough nutrition in general. And this is a problem because we know when it comes to healing eczema, we want to include foods, not restrict. The more that we restrict, the higher opportunity that you're going to develop nutrient deficiencies, issues with your microbiome, issues with your digestion, your energy levels. We really need to fuel our bodies as much as we can, especially with eczema being very physically demanding. Your body needs more. Your body is constantly burning energy to heal your skin. So you need to make sure that you're eating enough. And even to the listeners who aren't restricting, I still see inadequate intake, especially for those of you who are skipping breakfast. I have an episode that talks about why skipping breakfast is not recommended for eczema, but that's another thing that we see too, is that even if you're not restricting your diet, I'm generally seeing inadequate intake for people who skip meals, who skip breakfast, who just aren't eating enough at the actual meal. We're seeing a lack of fiber and lack of protein. So that's the first pattern, that I'm generally seeing people with eczema not eating enough. The second pattern that I commonly see with people with eczema is that they're doing way too many things at once. I can't tell you how many new clients come to me with 15 kinds of supplements, herbs, antimicrobials, liver detox, probiotics, taking vitamin A, B, C, D, E separately. And the whole day is just trying to figure out when to take these supplements. And we know how annoying it is to have to take 15 different supplements a day and also time it. Some supplements are taken on empty stomach, others need to be taken with a meal, and it just becomes a mess. And taking more supplements can actually backfire. More is not better. And when your body is already overwhelmed from the eczema itself, from dealing with the flares, and we're just throwing a bunch of supplements, throwing spaghetti at the wall, hoping one of them is going to stick, it's not going to work. I've said this before, and I'm going to sound like a broken record. Less is more when it comes to eczema healing. Figure out your own unique root cause combo. Get help for that if you don't know what that is. Streamline your supplements so you're not taking 15 at a time, and stop doing the detox protocols. Okay? While there's a time and place for it, if you're taking a bunch of supplements and doing a detox and you're not feeling any better, that's a sign that you probably need a gentle approach, and you probably need someone to help you with making your your protocol more simple. So that's the second pattern. Most people with eczema are doing way too much, including skincare. Skincare is a big one. Okay, this is gonna be something you guys don't wanna hear, but it's also a pattern that I see. The third pattern is people with eczema, they're looking for a magic root cause. What is it, Julia? I need to know my root cause. I need to figure out what this root cause is. What do I take for my root cause? What supplement should I do for my root cause? I don't understand my root cause. I feel like this word root cause is thrown around a lot. And even though I certainly use this word all the time, knowing your root causes, I think sometimes it's overused. And then it makes people with eczema think, okay, if I just find my root cause, my eczema will heal. If I just know what that one root cause is and I take that supplement for it, my eczema should heal. But it's not that simple. It is really not that simple with eczema. It's a complex condition. There's multiple triggers, underlying factors, medical history. So looking for just that one answer or the one magic root cause, there's not going to be an answer for that. And while it's really reassuring, right, you go to a practitioner and they say, okay, we found parasites or we found candida or you have mold. It's reassuring for a lot of eczema patients that have been so used to not having answers, right? So when you have that answer of, oh, this is my root cause, it feels like, okay, you should heal. But as a clinician, when I do find something that might be causing the eczema, candida, H. pylori, parasites, while I'm treating that, I'm also looking at how did this person develop this root cause in the first place? It's like a root cause and a root cause is what I call it. Did they develop candida because of a significant history of antibiotics? Okay, we need to work on that. Did they develop candida because they have poor diversity in the microbiome? Okay, we need to work on that through nutrition, through diet, through managing stress. Even though finding the root cause for eczema is important, we need to know why it developed in the first place. That way, we're not treating just the labs, we're not treating just the results, we're looking at the whole person. Okay, the fourth pattern is going to hit home for a lot of you. They think that if they're flaring, it means they did something wrong. Have you ever felt that way before, where you are doing everything you can and everything right? You're eating healthy, you're taking the supplements, you're meditating, but you're still flaring. Or you feel like you did something wrong, like you ate something bad, you ruined your progress, you shouldn't have drank alcohol, and then you might start to spiral around all the things that could have triggered this flare. And this is why I always say that with eczema and a lot of chronic conditions really is healing isn't linear. Flares in your journey is part of the process. You can literally be doing everything perfectly but still flare. And that's just the name of the game. It's like investing. You put money into stocks, maybe every month you contribute $100. Right? You're consistent. You're putting in the money, you're investing, and there's gonna have days where the stock market crashes. Like right now, it's not really doing so well. You're losing a bit of money in the market. But that doesn't mean the money you're putting in isn't working. It doesn't mean that investing isn't working. The progress of the stock market is never just shooting up linear, right? There's gonna be ups and downs. But over time, when you invest for years and years and years, you should see some upward trends. This is the same with eczema. You could be putting in the work and doing the things, but there's going to be moments when you're flaring and it's not looking so good. But remember, having one bad day, even a few weeks or a few months, it doesn't erase the progress that you're putting into it. Something I want you to keep in mind is if you do flare, a good measure of progress is not about not flaring. It's about how often you flare and how long the flare lasts. I get all of my patients to assess and review. One of the indicators we look at is when you flare, is the severity less? If the answer is yes, less than it was a few months ago, less than it was a year ago, that is progress. Then I get them to assess when they do flare, how long does a flare last? If it used to be 6 months of continuous flaring and now they're able to heal that flare in 1 month, that's progress. So we have to use that as a measure instead of being black and white. Like, oh, if I'm flaring, that means I'm failing and that nothing's working. That is a really important mindset shift around your eczema as well. Pattern number 5, they forget the boring basics. Usually the stuff that bores you, the habits that feel like aren't working are the ones that are moving the needle. Things like eating enough, not skipping meals, getting adequate sleep, including more fiber and vegetables in your diet, slowing down, exercising, drinking water, managing your stress. Like all of these things sound so basic, But I think this is where people make healing complex. They think it needs to be something intense, like, a protocol that has all these supplements or going on a detox or doing all these crazy things. No, sometimes it's just as simple as regulating your nervous system and doing that consistently. That's the key word, consistently. It's not about doing it for 1 month. For my chronic stressed out people, 1 month is not enough, especially if you've had a chronic history of stress for like 30 years. You're not going to be able to regulate all of that stress in 1 month. It takes time. You didn't develop eczema overnight. It took years to develop and blow up and flare. It's going to take a while for it to heal. Now, I'm not saying everyone's going to take a long time to heal from eczema. We have tons of cases where people would flare for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years and see a significant change in a few weeks, in a month. And that is very, very fast considering how long they've had eczema for. There is hope and healing, but just don't forget about the basics. It's very important. The foundational stuff is really important. The next pattern that we see with every eczema client is they don't realize how much their own subconscious beliefs impact their healing. You have the subconscious mind and you have the conscious mind. The subconscious mind controls 95% of your life, and the conscious mind only controls 5%. The subconscious mind is a huge memory pool. So it stores your beliefs, it stores your thoughts, past experiences. And so if the subconscious mind runs 95% of your life and that 95% has stored a lot of negative beliefs, what do you think is going to happen in your life? All of those beliefs. And so a common pattern that we see with eczema is the fear of it never healing. The belief that they're doomed, that this is going to be their life forever, that eczema is going to be something they have to deal with for the rest of their life. It's a very common belief because of so many different reasons, right? We were told from a dermatologist, from our doctors, that it's never going to get better. So after years of repetition of this belief, it's going to be stored in your cells. And that's going to put your body in this chronic state of fight or flight because you're constantly fearing your eczema not healing. You're constantly worried you're always going to be in the same flare. Your brain is now going to keep scanning for danger and looking for that in your life. Your body is physically going to anticipate the next flare. When is it coming? Even if you're healing, and what you believe to be true will become true. So a big part of supporting your eczema healing is changing those beliefs, those negative thought patterns, subconscious reprogramming. And there's a lot of tools you can use that's free to do that, whether it's gratitude journaling, EFT tapping, which is what I've been doing and loving, breath work, meditation. Those are very simple practices you can do. And obviously going deeper into it and actually get to those beliefs, you work with somebody that can help you with that. But yeah, that's a pattern that is overlooked and something that we see pretty often with our clients. When they work on their nervous system and trying to rewire these beliefs, they actually feel so much better about their journey. And when you feel better about your journey, you will heal. Look up Joe Dispenza. He talks all about this. Okay, the next pattern that we see with eczema clients is that they underestimate how much sleep matters. I think this is a no-brainer that sleep is where you heal, where you recover. Sleep improves your mind. Sleep improves your skin. Sleep improves your overall well-being. If you're not sleeping throughout the night, you're not really optimizing your ability to heal. Now, I know a lot of you struggle with sleep because of the itch, and the itch is sometimes inevitable. It kind of needs to happen in order to heal. But there are also ways to alleviate the itch at night. A lot of times itch comes from nervous system being activated. If that's the case for you, if you are in chronic stress, regulating your nervous system in the night can be helpful for the itch. Aim to have 8 hours of sleep every night and try to go to bed before 11. Sometimes people see a night and day difference in their skin. So if you can consistently sleep well, you can consistently see more healing. The next pattern that I see with eczema clients is that they're using way too many products. Way too many. Or they're not using enough. Which one are you? We need to stop slathering creams, lotions, moisturizers on a flare. Your dermatologist is going to say, slap on the Aquaphor, slap on the Vaseline, slap on the cream, just moisturize all day and night. Maybe mix some steroids in it. That's how you're going to manage your eczema. No. Make your skincare routine simple. We don't need to be slathering on moisturizers. Your skin needs to breathe sometimes. Use the right products for your skin. Strip down the products you're using and see if that makes a difference. You might You might notice that. And if you're not using any products and you're not healing, that's also another issue that we see too. Your skin needs skin barrier support and healing. And so depending on where you're at in your journey, you may need certain products, and other times in your journey, you may need less. So think about that. Guys, I'm having to like pause my video every 5 minutes. There's a train that runs by here because I'm in London and that's pretty loud. And there's cars that drive down the street and there's like construction. Apologies if you do hear some background noise. The final pattern that I see with my eczema clients is that they are often high achievers struggling to slow down. Yeah, does that sound like you? Because you're not the only one. Actually, you're not the only one for any of these patterns. This is why it's a pattern. I'm seeing it consistently with a lot of my patients. High achievers doesn't necessarily have to be a business owner. It could be perfectionists, people who work a lot. Entrepreneurs obviously is one of them. People pleasers. We don't know how to say no, so you're just doing everything for everyone else except for yourself. These are caregivers, healthcare workers. We know that in healthcare, a lot of burnt out doctors, a lot of burnt out nurses, they're overworked. And honestly, women, not that I'm trying to be biased, but women carry a lot emotionally, physically. For those of you who've given birth, you have your baby to take care of, you're breastfeeding, you're pregnant, then you're working, and you're a CEO. It's a lot, which is why Dr. Gabor Maté, who is a Vancouver physician, actually talked about how autoimmune disease is the most common in women.
80% of autoimmune disease, which are diseases where the immune system attacks the body that it's supposed to protect, 80% of them happen to women.
Why?
I knew people before they got sick, and I knew them in the context of their families of origin. And these people had 4 significant characteristics. One is they tended to put other people's emotional needs ahead of their own. Number 2, they tended to identify with duty, role, and responsibility rather than the needs of the self. Number 3, they tended to be very nice, which means they repressed healthy anger. And number 4, these people tended to believe that they're responsible for other people feel, which is a point that you address in your book, Let Them, and that they had this belief that they was never disappoint anybody. Now, those beliefs lead you into not saying no to the demands of the world, and you're constantly taking on stuff and stress and other people's stress. You get stressed. That stress undermines the immune system, which then turns against you. Why is it women? Because who in this culture is programmed to always looking after everybody else's emotional needs, taking everybody's stresses, identify with their duties and their role, be nice all the time, not be angry in a healthy way, and to take responsibility for other people's feelings. It's women. It's not a gender issue. It's a cultural issue.
If you do fall into this category, it's really important to take time for yourself. It's not selfish to do that. You need it for eczema. It's a non-negotiable to have time for yourself, to have your slower morning, have your own alone time, to meditate, to do your nails. You guys need it. We need it. Because without that, without rest, this is where burnout happens. This is where eczema flares. Okay, I wanted this to be a short and sweet episode, but it ended up being very long. I hope you found it helpful. I hope these patterns resonated with you and for something for you guys to think about. If you have any questions about this topic or any of the topics that I share on my channel, then make sure you leave a comment below. Hit the subscribe button. I see a lot of you listening on the podcast and on YouTube who are not subscribed. So if you want more content like this, then make sure you hit subscribe below. Also, don't forget to share this to someone who might benefit from this episode and all of our other episodes about eczema, gut health, nervous system, all the things. And that's it. We'll see you in the next episode.